morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is our Thursdays 13. We've got a list of 13 different names for everyone's favorite green plant. You know. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we've started, and we haven't had any caffeine. I also haven't had any water or food. I am struggling out here, but we will deliver these stories to you nonetheless. So let's get into these headlines. Today on Before Coffee, British tourists banned from bringing meat and cheese back from Europe, and Mexico lit up by a fireball in the night sky.
And also in the sky, astronomers detect a possible signature of life on a distant planet, and below the sea, a colossal squid is caught on camera for the first time in a deep sea.
Update on our Serbian students who cycled hundreds of miles to take their grievances to the EU.
And for Thursdays 13, we're going to talk about 420 coming up on Sunday. We're going to talk about the 13 best names for our favorite recreational drug.
The end of the op-ed. LA Times uses AI to counteract its own views.
And it's National Crawfish Day. You know, those pinchy little things that look like tiny little lobsters. Oh yeah, it's their day, April 17th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
I like how you describe the tiny little lobsters, the crawfish. And they do taste different, and they grow about the same place. I do wonder if there's actually like a different tree, like it's a different tree of life between lobster. I guess lobsters are in the ocean, whereas crawfish are in like inland waters, I guess.
I talk to people in Louisiana, they say the crawfish you don't see in the restaurants are never delivered because the people keep them for themselves. When people that catch crawfish, they'll catch lobster-sized crawfish, but they'll keep them instead of giving them to the restaurants.
Okay, well, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with our first segue.
All right.
Which is... give me a hypothetical based on my next story, or stories. You can wait until this last one.
All right.
My first story, of course, is about banning tourists from bringing meat and cheese back from Europe. This is from Archie Mitchell on The Independent. British tourists have been banned from bringing meat and dairy products back from Europe in a blow to travelers getting away for Easter. No, my Easter ham? I can't bring my Easter ham back. Okay. Under new rules, travelers returning to the UK will not be able to carry beef, pork, lamb, mutton. I don't know what the difference between lamb and mutton is. Venison, goat meat, or goat meat. Why don't they just say goat? Venison, goat, or dairy products. It means tourists traveling to the continent for the long Easter weekend will no longer be able to bring back small amounts of cheese and meat, such as a wedge of French brie or a German sausage, to give as a gift or to enjoy upon returning. Why? Why is this happening? You're traveling over Easter weekend, check what you can and can't bring back before you go, the government warned. A post on Twitter from the government's official account sought to play down the impact of Brexit on the changes, stressing that the measures ought to protect the farmers that spread foot and mouth disease and rising case on the continent. There are currently no cases in the UK. Is there meat, like processed cheese and meat, that is gonna bring back? I don't know how this disease spreads, but if that's the case, I guess fair enough. Like, yeah, the sausage has foot and mouth disease, and I'm gonna feed it to a cow. Get diseased, asshole. Farmer Minister Daniel Zeichner said this government will do whatever it takes to protect British farmers from foot and mouth. But they won't do anything for the British farmers that are currently struggling in the countryside. But at least all the cows won't die. Hey, I guess they're doing something. That is what we are, further strengthening protections by introducing restrictions on personal meat and dairy imports to prevent the spread of the disease and protect Britain's food security. Hundreds of thousands of British tourists are planning to flock to the continent over the Easter weekend, and the port of Dover alone is said to expect around 5,500 cars embarking on outbound ferry sailings between 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Good Friday. That's not even the whole day. That's just half of the day. Meanwhile, aviation analytics company Shirium says 11,282 flights are scheduled to depart from UK airports between Good Friday and Easter Monday. Under the rules, the government has warned travelers that declared goods will be seized and destroyed by their stomachs. Oh man, some more German sausage! Woo! There's no way they're throwing the food away. They're eating it. Like, I don't care who you are. You know, good for the border force. They get their rations for free. Travelers discovered with undeclared meat or cheese face potential prosecutions or fines up to £5,000.
Good time to give them vodka.
Yeah. Make sure you hide your sausage under your axle in your car so you can smuggle it through the country. They're gonna have dogs sniffing. Is that sausage, sir? My dog is saying you have sausage under your trunk. The rule changes in the latest post-Brexit headache to hit travelers between Britain and the EU. It comes after the casualty of the famous booze cruise, a tradition of British households hopping on ferries to stock up on cheap French wine. Restrictions since Britain left the EU means travelers can no longer return to the UK with as much wine as they like. They now have a limit of 18 liters or 24 bottles of wine per person, which is still a lot of bottles of wine. 24.
Wow, that's a lot of wine. Yeah.
For beer, the limit is 42 liters, so they can have way more beer. Liberal Democrat MP Caroline Vaudin told The Independent, the January reports of foot and mouth disease cases in Germany brought back chilling memories of 2001. Following those cases, I questioned the farming minister about whether the government would accelerate negotiations for a veterinary agreement with the EU. While he assures me with no extra impetus was needed, 3 months on we still lack any substantial agreement, and the government is now banning the personal imports of food and dairy products from the EU, instead of actually doing something foundational to protect their livestock. Let's be clear, this is a blunt move which won't help to secure our long-term biosecurity. While no one wants to see foot and mouth on our shores again, the government must realize that these bans are not the solution. We urgently need a veterinarian agreement with the EU, not just to boost biosecurity, but to slash the red tape our farmers and fishers deal with every time they want to export our biggest trading partner. Indeed, like I said at the beginning of this article, this seems just like a band-aid instead of actually doing things to support farmers. Look, we support you. We made sure nobody caught the disease. Yeah, that's support. Okay, but I'm about to go bankrupt. Well, that sounds like you made the wrong business decisions. Not our problem. Okay, well, good luck having any of that, UK beef and lamb when there's nobody to farm it, I guess. But that's my story. Do you have any segues for that?
Hypothetically, what if I made my own wine and decided to bring it in? It's not really importing it, is it?
Well, that'd be fine, right? They're only supporting the British farmers, right? Only you guys. So.
That's right.
If you want to make German sausage, make it at home. To be fair, German sausage is just the spices you put in. Right. You don't need to make it in Germany.
Border agents. If I was worried about border agents eating my food, I'd probably put some laxatives in it. But,
the great sausage smuggle is about to happen. All right.
Yeah, the big sausage smuggle of 25.
Speaking of lighting some sausages up on the barbecue, let's talk about the fire in the sky in Mexico. This is from Albert Toth on The Independent as well. Mexico's capital was lit up by a bright object at around 3 a.m. on Wednesday, awaking many residents who thought they might be witnessing a meteorite. The lights stretch over plains, volcanoes, and small towns, and catching the notice of almost everyone in Mexico City. Wow. The video footage of the ball of fire shooting over the country, dissolving into a burst of light over its capital, left many awestruck. It's probably why the capital was built there. They probably had a lot of meteor showers, and that's why the ancient Aztecs built the city there originally. They were very much into the sky as some sort of god. Worried and confused, many were left awestruck, but scientists across Mexico were quick to note that the object rocketing across the skies was not a meteorite. It was a bolide. Oh boy, let's learn something new. A bolide. Bolides, defined by NASA as fireballs, are exceptionally bright meteors, so they're still technically meteorites. But I guess they're not ites, they're just meteors, not meteorites. Ite indicates small, that are spectacular enough to be seen over a very wide area. Mario Rodriguez, a doctor in space science with the National Autonomous University of Mexico, said it could be described as a meteoroid, or a fragment of a meteor. Oh, so it's a smaller part of a meteor. So it's not a meteor. Meteorite means big. Meteors are big. Meteoroids are small. And a fragment of a meteor is a bolide. There you go. I hope we learned a lot about our space matter there. Bolides, like the one that coasted over Mexican skies earlier yesterday, catch fire as they descend to Earth. Due to the great pressure on the object, they begin to flash with a stretching tail and emit light, said Rodriguez, one of the group of scientists studying the videos that shocked many Mexicans. He said, unlike meteorites, which impact on Earth, bolide disintegrates in the atmosphere very strongly. This particular meteoroid, he said, was around 1.5 meters. That's still pretty big. 5 feet in American, in length, and posed no threat to public. After learning of the nature of the object and that they were safe, many took to the internet as the bolide became fuel for memes circulating on social media. No, the meteorite that exploded last night isn't an excuse to talk to your ex, someone wrote on Twitter over a gif of dinosaurs walking through a meteor shower. Soon, photos of the fireball edited with cartoon characters and political jokes flooded the internet. Rarer than usual meteor, bolides become exceptionally bright due to the pressure and heat from entering the Earth's atmosphere. They are usually defined as being brighter than the moon in the night sky. Yeah, that explains why people are freaking out. It's like, oh my god, that thing's brighter than the moon. But there you go, your sky news coming out of Mexico City.
Hypothetical, if a meteor is ever headed towards Earth, most of people would not believe what's happening and would just go about their business.
No, if that's what that film was about. Don't Look Up. Yeah. And made an entire film about that.
Right, exactly. We don't believe it. Yeah, because we don't believe science anymore. The flat Earth people are going to have their way. The flat Earth morons, the people that don't think we went to the moon, the non-science illiterate morons are going to have their way, and we're going to have a society built on stupidity instead of knowledge, because you're one of them book smart people with their silly science. Nerd.
You read stuff? I like to not know anything. There are some politicians out there who are also very proud to be idiots. So.
Oh yeah.
Sadly.
Yep. All they care about is getting that next check.
All right, let's roll that bad pun.
Oh, okay. It's bad pun you got, huh? Okay, bad pun about astronomers detect a possible signature of life on a distant planet. This is from SeattleTimes.com. A search of life beyond Earth has led scientists to explore many suggestive mysteries, from plumes of methane on Mars to clouds of phosphine gas on Venus, but as far as we can tell, Earth's inhabitants remain alone in the cosmos. Now a team of researchers is offering what it contends is the strongest indication yet of extraterrestrial life, not in our solar system, but on a massive planet known as K2-18b that orbits a star 120 light years from Earth. A repeated analysis of the exoplanet's atmosphere suggests an abundance of molecule that on Earth has only one known source: living organisms such as marine algae. It is in no one's interest to claim prematurely that we have detected life. Nico Madhusudan, an astronomer at the University of Cambridge and the author of the new study, said in a news conference Tuesday. Still, he said the best explanation for his group's observation is that K12-18b is covered with warm ocean brimming with life. This is a revolutionary moment, Madhusudan said. It is the first time humanity has seen potential biosignatures on a habitable planet. The study was published on Wednesday in the Astrophysical Journal. Other researchers called it exciting, thought-provoking first step in making sense of what is on K2-18b, but they were reluctant to draw grand conclusions. We need to give it a new name. How about Bill or something? It is not.
Where do you live? Oh, I live on the colony of Bill. Oh, okay.
Well, The planet Bill. We're exoplanet. It's not nothing, said Stephen Schmidt, a planetary scientist at Johns Hopkins University. It's not nothing. There you go. There's a scientific explanation. It is a hint, but we cannot conclude it is habitable yet. It is if there is extraterrestrial life on K2-18b or anywhere else, its discovery will arrive at frustratingly slow pace. Unless we see ET waving at us, it's not going to be a smoking gun, said Christopher Glenn, a planetary scientist at Southwestern Research Institute in San Antonio. Canadian astronomers discovered K2-18b in 2017 while looking through ground-based telescopes in Chile. It was a type of planet commonly found outside our solar system, but one without any analog near Earth that scientists could study closely for clues. These planets, known as sub-Neptunes, are much bigger than the rocky planets in our own inner solar system, but smaller than Neptune and other gas-dominated planets in the outer solar system. In 2021, Sudan and his colleagues proposed that the sub-Neptunes were covered with warm oceans of water and wrapped in atmospheres containing hydrogen, methane, and other common carbon compounds. To describe these strange planets, they coined a new term, Haitian, from a combination of the words hydrogen and ocean. The launch of the James Webb Space Telescope in December of 21 allowed astronomers a closer look at the sub-Neptunes and other distant planets. As an exoplanet passes in front of its host star, its atmosphere, if it has one, is illuminated. Its gases change color of the starlight that reaches the Webb telescope. By analyzing these changing wavelengths, scientists can infer the chemical composition of the atmosphere. While expecting K2-18b, Madhusudan and his colleagues discovered it had many of the molecules that had predicted a Haitian planet would possess. Haitian, kind of an ocean. In 2023, they reported they had also detected faint hints of another molecule and one of huge potential importance, dimethyl sulfide, which is made of sulfur, carbon, and hydrogen. Well, there's carbon. There you go, man. On Earth, the only known source of dimethyl sulfide is life. In the ocean, for instance, certain forms of algae produce the compound, which wafts through the air and adds to the sea's distinctive odor. Long before the Webb telescope was launched, astrobiologists had wondered whether dimethyl sulfide might serve as a sign of life on other planets. Last year, Madhusudan and his colleagues got a second chance to look for dimethyl sulfide. As K12-18b orbited in front of its star, they used a different instrument on the Webb telescope to analyze the starlight passing through the planet's atmosphere. This time they saw an even stronger signal of dimethyl sulfide, along with a similar molecule called dimethyl disulfide. As a shock to the system, Madhusudan said, we spent an enormous amount of time just trying to get rid of the signal. No matter how the scientists revisited their readings, the signal stayed strong. They concluded that K2-18b may in fact harbor a tremendous supply of dimethyl sulfide in its atmosphere, thousands of times higher than the level found on Earth. This would suggest that Haitian hydrogen oceans seas are brimming with life. Other researchers emphasized that much research remained to be done. One question yet to be resolved is whether K2-18b is in fact a habitable Haitian world as Madhusudan's claims. In a paper posted online Sunday, Glean and his colleagues, I don't remember using Glean's name, Glean and his colleagues argued that the K2-18b could instead be a massive hunk of rock with a magma ocean and a thick, scorching hydrogen atmosphere, hardly conducive to life as we know it. Scientists will also need to run laboratory experiments to make sense of the new study to create the possible conditions on sub-Neptunes, for instance, to see whether dimethyl sulfide behaves there as it does on Earth. It is important to remember that we're just starting to understand the nature of these exotic worlds, said Matthew Nixon, a planetary scientist at the University of Maryland who was not involved in the new study. Joshua Christensen-Totten, an astrobiologist at the University of Washington, said he worried that the American astrobiologists may not be able to follow up their latest results on K2b18b. The Stinky Clown administration is reportedly planning to cut NASA's science budget in half, limiting future telescope and other astrobiology projects. If that happens, Christensen-Totten said the search of life elsewhere would basically stop. There's your story on exoplanet life. Did you hear all that?
Yes, I did.
Or any of that? Okay, so you got a pun?
You want to hear my pun?
Yeah.
We're going to call the planet informally known as Bill. I think it just needs to chill down and get some life. They were warning it might just have magma oceans, you know? So we don't want magma oceans. That's people will just fall in those and die. We don't want that.
Could be. Yeah, or could be Haitians though. Could be Haitians.
Yeah, could be Haitians.
All right. In other science news, a colossal squid is caught on camera for the first time in deep sea. This is I did send you a video, so
okay,
I'm telling you now, it's there. This is from Christina Larson, hard to say Christina for some reason, from AP News. This is a shorter story. A colossal squid has been caught on camera for the first time in the deep sea by an international team of researchers steering a remotely operated submersible. The sighting was announced Tuesday by the Schmidt Ocean Institute. The squid, filmed as a juvenile, but 1 foot, 30 centimeters in length, at the depth of 1,968 feet or 600 meters in the South Atlantic Ocean. Full-grown adult colossal squids, which scientists have uncovered from bellies of whales and seabirds, can reach lengths of 23 feet, almost the size of a small fire truck. The squid was spied last month near the South Sandwich Islands during an expedition to search for new sea life. Researchers waited to verify the species identification with other independent scientists before releasing the footage. I really love that we have seen a young colossal squid first. This animal is so beautiful, said Kat Balstad, a squid researcher at the Auckland University of Technology in New Zealand, who helped confirm it. Researchers are testing different cameras in hope of catching an adult colossal squid, Balstad said. The young squid is almost entirely transparent, with thin arms. As adults, the squids lose their glassy appearance and become opaque, dark red, or purple. Full grown, they are considered to be the world's largest known invertebrates. So there's your quickie story on squids.
Yeah, quick indeed. But don't worry, I still got a pun. I still got a pun. Here we go. Let me go to where I wrote it down because I closed that window. Here we go. Do you think it takes 10 tickles to make a squid laugh?
Yeah.
10 tickles?
Yeah! Oh, man, I'm really bad at getting these. All right, 10 tickles. Got it. Right on.
It takes more than 10 to get you to laugh, it seems.
Okay.
All right. Let's roll that segue wheel for my stories here. All right. Get me some accurate metaphors or simile for Serbian students making it to their destination, right? We talked about maybe last week, I think, that the Serbian university students are going to ask the EU to pay attention to their plight. And they've biked all the way there. This is on AP News. Serbian university students who say their fight for justice is being overlooked in much of Europe arrived to a hero's welcome on Tuesday, which was, what was that? That's 15th, the 15th of April, in the heart of the European Union. They cycled more than 1,300 kilometers or 780 miles from the Balkan country. Around 80 students who set off on bicycles 13 days ago on a journey to Strasbourg, France, were aiming to draw EU attention to their months-long protest against corruption in the Balkan nation. Serbia is formally seeking membership in the 27-nation bloc, but has been backsliding into democratic freedoms and into the rule of law. They received an emotional welcome from hundreds of people, including members of the Serbian diaspora and French students and supporters upon arriving at the main square in Strasbourg, where European Parliament meets. I think that this protest action is a full success, one of the cyclists said in a live N1 TV broadcast from Strasbourg, where people gathered. I think we have woken up Europe. Serbian university students have been a key force behind a nationwide anti-graft movement that includes almost daily street demonstrations that have rattled the Balkan nation's President Alexander Vučić. While they were garnered huge support at home and through the Balkans, many students feel they haven't received enough backing from the EU itself. The students cycled 100 to 150 kilometers or 60 to 90 miles per day through Hungary, Slovakia, Austria, and Germany before reaching Strasbourg, where they received a red carpet welcome from Serbs living abroad and fellow students from the EU. They braved heavy rain and chilling temperatures along their journey across Europe that included a hero's welcome by supporters in Budapest, Vienna, and in German towns that they went through. I guess they didn't stop by any cities in Germany. They're like, nah, none of it's on the way there. The student-led protests in Serbia were triggered by deaths of 16 people in a deadly train station canopy collapse in November, widely blamed on rampant corruption. Like, the government is so corrupt, they're just lining their pockets instead of actually paying for infrastructure increases and making sure the people in the country don't die. They have since come to reflect wider discontent with the state of democratic freedoms in Serbia. The protesting students have been demanding justice for the victims of the November 1st canopy collapse and an end to the government pressure and violence against protesters. Vučić and his pro-government media have accused the students and their professors of working against the state to topple him from power, together with the unidentified Western security services. I mean, kind of true though, right? If he's the problem, get rid of him. That's kind of how democracies work, dude. Wait, this person's trying to get me out of power. Yeah, you're failing the people here. He has not provided any evidence for his claims other than they don't agree with what I want to do, so they hate me. Why do they hate me? The EU's reaction to the mostly peaceful student-led protests has been lukewarm, and officials have refrained from criticizing Vučić. Maybe they're getting their pockets lined by him as well. They apparently consider him a key factor in maintaining peace in the region that went through a series of devastating wars in the 1990s. Well, it's about to go through another one, I think. In Strasbourg, the students plan to visit the Council of Europe and the European Parliament. Since coming to power over a decade ago, yet again, do not agree with anybody being in power for over a decade, let alone a decade. Vučić has been accused of stifling democratic freedoms while maintaining close links with Russia and China. In Serbia, on Tuesday, student-led protesters temporarily blocked the entrance to Vučić's main propaganda TV broadcaster, RTS in Belgrade, and the northern town of Novi Sad to protest its coverage of events. So, good to see that all of them, I don't know if anybody dropped out, but it sounds like nobody of the 80 students, nobody dropped out. They all made it through this 13-day journey. Oh. So I guess I did talk about this 2 weeks ago then. I was like, I know I talked about it at some point, but 2 weeks ago, and they've made it since they left. Good for them, and good for fighting for your democratic freedoms.
Mm-hmm. Yep, democracy is like getting a haircut, right?
You have to keep doing it.
You can't just let your hair grow. Yeah, you can't get your hair grow long and shaggy. It just gets stagnant and unwieldy and unkempt or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's your bad.
It gets corrupted.
Your bad analogy. There you are.
All right, non sequitur for the next one for me.
Non sequitur for
after our 420 story, our early 420 story.
420. That's 420. It's 417. So we're not going to have a 420 show because it's on Sunday. So we're getting ahead of the game and we're going to have a little fun. And I don't have my dry erase board. I know I packed it. Don't know where it is. It's in somewhere. I'll go through everything again. Maybe I'll find my dry erase board. You can imagine it up here with words. This is our 13 slang terms for the happy cigarettes that we all indulge in on 420.
Happy cigarettes.
Of course, the the rumor, or actually belief for a lot of people, including me, I kind of believe it, Trump is going to declare martial law on 420. That's what he's planning on doing, or near 420.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. I see the rumors.
Yep. So I would expect martial law, and then immediately followed by a general strike, which is everybody stayed home, nobody go to work, no buses, no nothing, just everybody just stay the fuck home.
Yeah.
Martial law, fine, we don't go to work. Good luck. That's what it should be. Anyway, I won't have that problem because I don't have a job, so I'm already on my general strike.
You're working right now. What do you mean?
Well, I'm working for myself. I'm not working for some boss.
You don't have...
Yeah. Here's 10 things wrong with you every single day. You know, fuck that shit. All right, but before and during and after, we're going to enjoy us some happy times as we go through the slang names for weed. Number 1, ganja. Ganja, I believe, is a Jamaican term, but I started using it in the Marine Corps. These are terms you use because you don't necessarily want to get caught doing what you're doing, but everybody knows what you're doing, right? And people wanted to be funny. So, ganja. Ganja has always been my favorite. Ganja. It even sounds good. Number 2, hippie lettuce. I love hippie lettuce. I don't know what it is about hippie lettuce, but I don't know. It's more fun. It's more because you're just like saying, only hippies smoke weed. But hippie lettuce is one of my favorites. Dank, the dank. That's always a good one. It describes the smell and this unpleasantness.
That
the
dank
moistness,
kush.
the smell. It's all dank. Oh, what? That stuff is dank. Hey, get out the dank. Yeah, man, love that one. Number 4 kind of goes along with the dank. It is the sticky, or the icky sticky, or the sticky icky, or any variation of the sticky weed that is so sticky that by the time you're done smoking a joint, the resins from the joint are sticking to your fingers because it's so sticky. The icky sticky is number 4. Number 5 is one left over from the 1920s. Jazz cigarettes. That's what they used to call them. Hey, you got any of those
that makes
jazz
it sound
cigarettes?
Really cool.
Yeah, also give it a little ethnic tinge to it, because of course, jazz was associated with being an African American. And ooh, look at him! Must have been smoking them jazz cigarettes. And another one that goes along with the old days. Well, no, don't. Well, let's get back to this one. Well, the next one, sorry. The next one is the chronic. The chronic I always like. That's more a recent one to me. Of course, chronic just means, it's there all the time. It's nagging. It's, it's constantly there. The chronic is like,
and that's what happens when you get high. You're just permanently changed.
Yeah, he's got he's on the chronic. He's all chronicked up. Number 7 has a southern flavor, wacky tobacco. If you ever heard that one, I know that's always a funny one. Wacky tobacco, of course. Tobacco is the leaf of the plant, right? But when you smoke marijuana, you're smoking the sex organs. You're smoking the flower. You're not smoking the leaf. So it's not necessarily the same as tobacco. That's why tobacco's got all those carcinogens in it. It's because it's basically, cellulose. You're smoking cellulose. Number 8 is an old-timey one. Reefer. Of course, made popular from the movie Reefer Madness. Not exactly sure what reefer comes from, but it's been used for a long time. It's one of your older terms, reefer. Number 9 is Mary Jane, which the word marijuana is, of course, marijuana. Marijuana. It's basically just Mary Jane, and they've Mexicanized it to go, oh no, that's a Mexican dangerous drug from Mexico, don't go near it. So that was invented by the government.
Yep.
Because people called it Mary Jane. Marijuana is invented by the government. Another 10 is tree. I like tree. It's like back in the old days when you taught code, you had to come up with something. You got any green? You got any chronic? You got any tree? Tree's not illegal. It's not illegal to own a tree. So yeah, I got tree.
Maybe illegal to smoke a tree, but that starts a forest fire.
Number 11. Number 11 is spleef. The spleef. which I prefer to. Some people call it a blunt, but the spleef was I guess the Jamaican name for,
I thought it was
you got a tobacco.
Ah.
Well, spleef, yeah. Well,
Okay.
spleef. You can say spliff if you want to, but I say
Yeah,
spleef.
you can. You're the expert here.
Well, it's another way of saying blunt, because blunt is basically an outer tobacco leaf with the secret ingredient inside. Number 12 is Chiba. Chiba. There's a Mexican one. That's a very common
really?
one.
Okay.
Chiba. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't use very much, but I've heard. And number 13 is skunk. Back in the day, when all you could get was the skunk weed. Back in the day when I was a kid, all you could get was a bag of weed that smelled just like a skunk. You could smell it from 7 miles away, basically.
Really?
But those are your...
Wow.
Yeah, so you just end up calling, you got that skunk weed. Nowadays, there's so many varieties, you're not going to settle for skunk. Skunk is just an aroma that comes from the fermentation of, once the plant is picked, it starts to ferment. That's just the process that happens. It either happens slowly or it happens quickly. And the skunk is that process happening quickly. So those are your 13 names for your 420 herbs. And hopefully you got a non sequitur. That shouldn't be too hard to figure out.
Weed 420 might be dead this weekend, and that means it can join the LA Times in killing op-eds. Here's your non sequitur, because we have nothing to do with each other. That's right, this is from Euronews Culture. According to Euronews, the op-ed is dead because the LA Times has started using AI. Uh-oh.
Oh, boy. An op-ed AI.
But first, let's roll your segue so we can...
Right on, yeah, do that.
All right, another simile or accurate metaphor for you. So days might be numbered as a new feature on the Los Angeles Times website offers an immediate rebuttal to their journalists' work through an AI assistant. Is this the future of opinion journalism? Or have we entered into a parallel universe where even rhetoric is fully supplanted by the machines? In the LA Times opinion section is an article by Joan C. Williams, a law professor at the University of California, College of Law in San Francisco. In the piece, Williams argues that Democrats need to understand the cultural angle of politics if they are ever to understand convicted felon Trump's 2024 presidential election victory. Democrats need to rival Trump's cultural competence in connecting with the working class, which will require change from progressives. She writes, as she explains that the left is failing to see the human side of the right's argument to a broad span of voters. It's an insightful and well-researched piece that speaks from Williams' academic perspective. Exactly the sort of thing you'd expect from an opinion section. What's new is a little button labeled Insights. Click that and you're whisked to the bottom of the page where the LA Times gives you an AI-generated analysis on the voice's content to offer a point of view. In the Insights, you are told that Williams' piece generally aligns with generally aligns with a center-left point of view, as well as a summary of her points. Most intriguingly, there's a section that gives you opposing views. There it points out that while Williams thinks Democrats should focus on uniting cultural theories, strategists like James Carville urge Democrats to avoid cultural distractions and concentrate exclusively on economic messaging, while others reject the premise that cultural issues are irreconcilable, pointing to Biden-era successes in manufacturing and wage growth. On the left's point, the AI argues that conceding on issues like climate action or LGBTQ rights risks demoralizing the Democratic base and ceding ground for far-right narratives. I guess I can kind of agree with it. That sounds like an interesting point, but it's directly contrasted by Williams' own writing, where she notes that on inclusive messaging, Democrats didn't abandon their vision of full LGBTQ rights, but they did shift tactics to engage a wider range of people. Whether the AI has fully grasped Williams' argument or is not up for a debate. But most significant is the shift away from giving opinion writers a sense of authority on their own topic. Oh yeah, well the AI says you're wrong, Williams. Wow, I'm glad I spent all this time writing this opinion piece so that the AI could tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. Please, machine, tell me how to think.
Yeah, for many, this is part of a move to placate convicted felon Trump's administration by LA Times owner Patrick Soon-Shiong. Soon-Shiong bought the paper in 2018, and last year decided it would not officially endorse Kamala Harris for president. If you just have one side, it's just going to be an echo chamber, the medical investor said. Going through the paper's opinion pieces a day, the AI provides more opposing views. LA Times opinion columnist Jackie Calms has a piece on the parallels between Hannah Arendt's view on Nazi Germany and the current administration. AI Insight suggests Calms' piece is center-left and notes that Trump's actions, while norm-breaking, lack the systematic violence and ideological coherence of Hitler's regime for now. Similarly, LA Times journalist LZ Granderson has a center-left piece that by the way, the center-left is in quotations, right? Center-left piece that criticizes the Trump administration's removal of LGBTQ plus iconography and education from government bodies as a worrying shift towards an un-American ideals of inclusion and openness. Contrasting this view, the AI suggests conservative advocates, including groups behind Project 2025, contend that LGBTQ plus visibility policies promote toxic normalization and conflict with traditional family values. Toxic normalization. What does that fucking mean? I don't know if I've never heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell people that gay people are normal, that's a toxic normalization. No, it's just normal amount of normalization. It's just something that sounds bad, right? Let's make up a buzzword and it sounds really bad, and we're gonna tell you it's happening to you right now. So you better watch out, and we're only gonna save you from this made-up thing we just made up. Like toxic normalization.
That's it.
Yeah. While the opinion writers of the LA
right.
Times are still largely left-leaning, the new AI feature is designed to platform both sides of an argument, exactly as Soon-Shiong wanted. Except that the argument is being featured by an AI. So, also, you don't want to give all sides the argument, because some sides shouldn't speak at all. Like people who want, hey, we should just kill people we don't like. Those people shouldn't have opinions, you know?
Well,
don't tolerate the intolerable, okay? That's the rule. Back when the owner blocked the Harris endorsement, 3 of the 6 people who researched and wrote their editorials, including editorial editor Muriel Garza, resigned in protest. The other 3 have since left, the last holdout, Carla Hall, exiting after writing a last column that ran on the 30th of March about homeless people she met while covering the issue. Soon-Shiong's decision was mirrored by Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos, who decided the newspaper would not back a presidential candidate. Last month, Ruth Marcus, who worked for the Washington Post since 1984, stood down after a row over the paper refusing to run an opinion piece that was critical of Bezos. She was the last to leave the Post. And Bezos announced that the paper's opinion column would no longer be a free-for-all individuals' authors' thoughts. Isn't that kind of the point, though, of a opinion, is that it's a free-for-all on your thoughts? Instead, it would focus on 2 specific themes: personal liberties and free markets. Oh boy, I love stories about the economy. We need more of those.
Free markets, where's that existing? We have tariffs.
I don't fucking know. It's
We're
just like I said, all these people are using buzzwords to make you think, oh yeah, he's on my side now. They use the buzzword that I know. Free markets. Yeah, that's what I stand for. I don't know what free markets means. I don't know what's entailed in a free market, but that's the thing I stand for. Yeah, sorry, I was interrupting your rant as well.
Out there. No, I'm just saying, I hope there's no Republicans out there claiming that we're in a free market society. That's just a complete lie.
No, we've definitely closed the markets for the time being. Between Soon-Shiong and Bezos, there's a clear move from the billionaire-owned U.S. media landscape to cozy up to the convict. It continues a pattern seen by major tech and social media owners, including, of course, Bezos' founded Amazon. Concerningly, it also highlights an AI-obsessed owner's cynical attitude towards the work of journalists. I think it could be offensive to both readers and the writer themselves who object to being categorized in simple and not necessarily helpful terms. Garza said. The editorial's editor said. Yeah, I mean, this is basically putting people in very simplistic boxes, removing all nuance, because as we know, nuance is very scary because it makes you use your brain and you have to think critically and say, wait, I can do this thing and this thing at the same time? Impossible! My entire life is built on the polarization that this and this are against each other and they can never be together and they're the enemy. The idea of having a bias meter just in and of itself is kind of an insult to intelligence, and I've always thought that the readers of the opinion page were really smart. So, that's Garza's opinion on this.
Well, reporters are supposed to separate, here's your metaphor, they're supposed to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
What they're saying is, wheat, chaff, they're all the same. Let's let AI decide.
Actually, wheat is left-wing and chaff is right-wing. So, if you agree with the chaff, you're a right-wing supporter. Okay?
We just mix the chaff together with the wheat and make them the same. They're equally
that's center,
the truth and the lie. Yeah, the truth and the lie are the same thing. They should get equal biases in our coverage.
To be fair, I'm guilty of this as well. It's very easy to say that all the people who are doing the good things, the progressive things, those are all the leftists, right? And all the people doing the bad things and are trying to, stop whatever from happening, those are the right wing. And then you say left good, right bad, and that's where we are now, right? We're currently in that era of if you're over there, you're on the bad side. If you're a if you're on the right, you hate the left. And if you're on the left, you hate the right, and your enemies. No possible way we can exist together.
That's right. Because we need to be extremists. Because most people are extremists. That's not exactly true. Most people aren't extremists. Most people are just trying to figure shit out themselves. Nobody's an extremist. It's the extremists themselves who benefit from keeping us divided.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, let me roll my wheel, and then we can get into this day in history. Please don't be a limerick again.
All right, this day in history. Yeah, no more.
All right, alliteration headline. Almost.
All right, for this day in history and this day, all that happened in this day. Let's go back. I got my vitamins out. Get ready to take my vitamins. My glass of water is way over there.
Oh no!
All right. This day in history, we're going all the way back to spinning back. Wait, we gotta go farther back than that. All right, back to the year 1194. Richard I, or Richard the Lionheart, was crowned King of England for the second time, after earlier surrendering his kingdom to the Holy Roman Emperor Henry VI. So this is the day in 1194 Richard the Lionheart took over again. In 1521, Martin Luther appeared before his Diet of Worms to defend his ideas on church reform. Diet of Worms, that sounds appetizing. 1790, American printer, publisher, and author, inventor, scientist, and diplomat Benjamin Franklin, who was one of the foremost of the founding fathers of America, died at the age of 84. So he died in 1790. Really never took care of himself, but he still lived to be 84, which is pretty remarkable for those days. 1895, the Treaty of Shimonoseki concluded the First Sino-Japanese War, which ended in China's defeat. In 1951, Mickey Mantle, American baseball player Mickey Mantle, made his Major League debut as an outfielder for New York Yankees. I guess that's a big event in the Yankees lore. I'm not sure why it's in here, but oh well, there it is. 1956, the Communiform, the International Communist Information Bureau, founded in 1947, was disbanded as part of the Soviet program of reconciliation with Yugoslavia, which no longer exists. 1961, Cuban leader Fidel Castro's forces repelled the Bay of Pigs invasion, which was led by recent Cuban exiles and financed by the U.S. government during the Cold War. Of course, the CIA didn't provide the air support or something like that, and it failed miserably, and Kennedy took the blame, and I guess the CIA didn't trust Kennedy after that, so they had him assassinated. That's my theory. 1970, the Apollo 13 command module carrying James A. Lovell, Fred W. Hayes Jr., and John L. Swigert Jr. entered Earth's atmosphere and splashed down, ending one of the most tense chapters in space history. 4 days earlier, an oxygen tank had exploded, threatening the lives of the 3 astronauts. So Apollo 13
scary.
landed today, this day, in 1970. 1975, Cambodia's ruling Lon Nol government collapsed, and the communist forces of the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, entered Phnom Penh and forcibly dispersed its citizenry into rural areas, killed about 1 million people. That's right, the Khmer Rouge took over after the United States created a power vacuum with our stupidity in Southeast Asia. 2003, Anneli Jaudenmäki was sworn in as a Prime Minister of Finland, which thereby became the second country after New Zealand to install a woman as head of both state and government. Jaudenmäki. In 2011, the hugely popular TV show Game of Thrones, which is based on George R.R. Martin's fantasy book series, A Song of Fire and Ice, debuted on HBO.
And the world hasn't been the same since, because now every single fantasy show wants to be Game of Thrones. There's at least 3 right now that are trying to be Game of Thrones.
The sadness is pervasive. 2014, Colombian novelist Gabriel Garcia Marquez, winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature and widely considered one of the greatest writers of the 20th century, died at the ages 87. I actually read one of his stories called A Very Old Man with Something Wings, something like that. It's about a fallen angel, basically. Gabriel Garcia Marquez died in this day in 2014. 2018, American First Lady Barbara Bush passed away at the age of 92. She was wife of George Herbert Walker Bush, President of the United States, and mother of George W. Bush, 43rd President of the United States. And also the world was changed again for the second time. All right. This day in history, April 17th, 1982, Canada Act proclaimed. The Canada Act, is known as the Constitution Act, took the effect on this day in 1982 to establish certain individual rights, preserving parliamentary supremacy, and making Canada a wholly independent, fully sovereign state. But they still have...
Happy Canada Day, at least for now. Happy Canada Day.
You're a sovereign state, but for some reason you still have the queen on your money, and they probably still have the king on their money now. It's like, okay, you're sovereign. Why are you bowing down to a king or a queen?
Oh, wow, they're just putting him on the money. I don't think they're bowing to anyone.
I'm just saying, what does that have to do with anything in Canada? Why don't you put Canadian guys on your money? Anyway. Nikita Khrushchev, this feature biography, Premier of Soviet Union, born on April 17, 1894, died September 11th of 1971 at the age of 77. Khrushchev, who was also thrown out of power before that, died in 71. Other birthdays today, as we rip through this, Nikita Khrushchev, we did that. William Holden, American actor, born in 1918. Nick Hornby, British writer, born in 1957. Adam McKay, American director, producer, and writer, born in 1968. And Victoria Beckham, English singer and designer, former Spice Girl. Married the Beckham guy, the soccer guy. She was born in 1975, so she's turning 50 today. Ooh, when your Spice Girls are getting old. National Day calendar today. It is Get to Know Your Customers Day, which is the 3rd Thursday of each quarter. National Crawfish Day. National High Five Day. National Cheese Ball Day. Hey, you cheese ball. And National Haiku Poetry Day. Wow! We didn't even get to do a haiku today. That's too bad. It's National Ellis Island Family History Day. Maybe you can just do a haiku in honor of National Haiku Day. Okay. But those are your days for today. Your stupidity, your mispronunciations, your science, your immigration, your spins of the wheel, everything for April 17th, 2025 on Before Cheese Balls.
Before Cheese Balls.
Was there anything that mattered before these balls? I don't think so.
I didn't. You didn't really give me enough time for a Okay, here we go. Haiku. There's a random haiku. I just looked up random haiku for National Haiku Day. Moonlight casts a silver glow on the snow-clad landscape bright. Stars shine with a twinkle. There you go. Random haiku for Haiku Day.
Nice. That wasn't on your spin, though.
Huh? You gave me like 2 seconds to write a haiku, so I just searched.
What was your spin? Your spin was something else.
My spin was alliteration, which I was going to say, changes Canada champions. Yeah, there you go. I was like, because I kept on talking about how the world had been changed by Game of Thrones and George W. Bush, and Canada got its independence, and we're champions of another. Before coffee finished off here.
All right, then.
Let me see if there's an international day today. I don't think there is for a couple of days. Yeah. No international days today. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands. Roger, of course, from the East Coast of the U.S. As we finish off another day, I hope you've learned a lot of cool slang words for marijuana, because I have. That was really interesting. Yeah. Some old ones in there. Some, what was it? Jazz cigarettes. Sounds so cool, you know?
Yes.
Yo, pass me a jazz cigarette. What the hell's a jazz cigarette? You know. So hopefully the world doesn't end on the 420 and you can just get high in peace. So have a good one there. We will see you tomorrow for Friday's news dump, where we're going to dump all the news before the weekend, so you don't got to worry about what's going on the weekend, and you can have a nice Easter holiday if you celebrate Easter. And yeah, let's get into our deep sea mic drop moment.
Squid.
It's a squid. It's blue and it has some red eyes. I don't know if that's because it's luminescent. The red eyes are kind of spooky. It's actually really rare to see juvenile animals because they're usually hidden away to protect them.
Right.
Probably also the camera they use to be able to see this footage in the deep dark where there's no sunlight. They have to use a certain type of reflective.
And that's the accompanying music that plays underwater when you go there.
Yeah, whenever you see, most people think when you go underwater it's under the sea from like Little Mermaid, but it's actually this.
Yeah, it's this one singular note continuously.
One very
resonating.
long exhale from an instrument. I think a synth. I think we're getting a synth right now. I wonder what it's doing. It's probably just traveling around, collecting.
Just eating whatever's there, yeah.
Yeah.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.